Howdy gang, Big Ed here. Hey, I did an interesting experiment. It was actually completely accidental. I bought a new custom power supply that I found online made specifically for the Neural DSP Quad Cortex because a lot of people complain about it, right? It is pretty bad. It's okay, but it's cumbersome, wall wart, and thin cable. It's just weird with the clippy, yeah. So I got this new power supply, but I also found out in the interim after I ordered it that my Cioks DC7 can also power the Quad Cortex, because the Quad Cortex engineers say that it only needs around 2,000 milliamperes to operate. So you can take 4 outputs of your Cioks set to 12 volts, and you can either get 2 sets of jumpers and get a third jumper and connect them together and then put a regular cable to it, or Goodwood Audio, I think they're in Seattle, they might be in Vancouver, Canada. I get a lot of cables from them, and they built my custom junction box for my wet dry wet board. Anyway, they make a custom cable for it specifically that's 4-to-1. Much easier. So those are your options. But anyway, the point is, so I got this new power supply and it's filtered and isolated and et cetera, and it's made 3,000 milliamperes specifically for the Quad Cortex, just one output, one cable. Doesn't come with, the regular cable, but I'm using a Strymon cable, the longest one I had, and it's fine. But here's what I noticed. So as soon as I plugged in the new power supply, I went, oh wow, that sounds different. Is it better? It might be better. And then I said, okay, well, let's find out. Let's do the Cioks thing. Let's connect the 4 cables. Let's jump that. And that sounded different too. So after much experimenting back and forth, the Cioks sounds closer to the preset that I developed using the Quad Cortex original power supply, and that the custom power supply definitely added some frequencies in the low mids that were not there when I created the patch. Is that bad? I don't know. I think if you create the patch with that power supply, it's not, because you're compensating for it, but it's adding them in interesting areas and interesting frequencies. So the Cioks, like I said, responds exactly the way I expected it to from when I made the patch. And this other custom power supply, I'm not going to mention it because I'm not denigrating the guy at all. It might be fine. It might be that the Cioks is just closer to the Quad Cortex power supply in responsiveness, and this other one is just different. But I want to demonstrate it to you. So let's take a look. Watch the FabFilter Q3 spectrograph carefully. I'm going to zoom in on it, hopefully, so you can see the difference. I think you'll hear it and feel it, and then I'll tell you exactly what we're seeing. So here's the Cioks version. And now here's the custom power supply version. So what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing on the EQ here is that the custom power supply has a little bit more push around 300 hertz, whereas the Cioks has accurately a little push like around 224, which is where the original Quad Cortex had it. And that's what felt right for these particular amps. So it's an interesting discussion to have. This is how much the power supply can change the feel, because it also feels differently, and the response of your Quad Cortex, or any device really. Furthermore, the top feels pretty similar. Perhaps it's a little silkier on the custom power supply, which is nice, but just a touch. But the response that you're seeing is the same. So it's another feel thing. So just wanted to make you aware of that and let you make your own choices when you're out there shopping for power alternatives to the Quad Cortex.